What's up, y'all? I've decided that I'm going to go on a little freestyle run and I'm going to break down, whatever it is I want to break down and just try to spit it from the top. You know what I'm saying? I've watched videos that I made with other freestyles that I made and I've seen how I made mistakes. So I'll try to correct it if I catch it later on. But in general, I'm sure I'll be pretty accurate with how I truly believe about the subject at hand today, which is Eritrean history. The Eritrean history is very unique. Eritrea is the only, and my brother taught me this, Eritrea is the only, he didn't taught me, he said it the proper way, which is Eritrea is the only African country to be colonized by another African country. So there's that. There's how Eritrea was created was also the way, even though slightly different, was also the way all of African states were created. And so to fully comprehend what happened, you have to go back with depth and layers of events that led up to Eritrea finally being created, erased, and then created again, or reconstituted. So I always like to start with, first I'd like to start with what really happened with the scramble for Africa. What really happened for the scramble for Africa was not what we typically think of as, usually you think of, oh yeah, the reason why the scramble for Africa happened was because of they wanted to rob, rape, pillage, steal, and all that's true. But there was, that's on the ground level. At the higher level of things, there was a different, modus operandi, or not modus operandi, but it was a different agenda. And this agenda, as I'll talk about, is always coming with adjustments, just like you in your life. You're not in control of everything, and there's major adjustments that you're going through as you learn and progress and evolve, right? So, the first thing would be to talk about the nation state, and the concept of that in itself. Africa had kings and queens like the rest of the world, and eventually we became nation states, presidents and prime ministers. And this was the true plan for the scramble for Africa, but not only the scramble for Africa, for the entire conquest of the British Empire. The entire conquest of the British Empire was merely to create a framework in order for global organization based on a commonality that would be outside of people's particular religion, spirituality, yada, yada, yada. Because not only were you king in Sweden, and then you were king in Ghana, or a queen in South Africa, or a king in Thailand, because at one point there was nothing but kings on the planet. There was nothing but kings on the planet. Probably before, now I wouldn't say there was nothing but kings. Even Rome and Caesar, though they had Caesars and they had a Senate and stuff, so they were politics. But this is European politics. So yeah, I guess I shouldn't say that they were always kings and queens, but it was the dominant. Divine right to rule was the dominant form of government for the Dark Ages, which are the, from Leo to Pisces. For 13,000 years, the dominant form of government was kingship. So They wanted to change that. They wanted to create nation states. This, first of all, the concept of the nation state in itself came from a 30-year war. Ironically, Eritrea had a 30-year war. So this is the parallels that happened in history. So Europe had a 30-year war after the Moors left. So when the Moors left, we know that the Moors ruled Europe from the two easiest dates to remember, 711 AD to 1492. 1492, Queen Isabella and Ferdinand of Spain, their houses joined, and they were able to kick out the rest of the last of the Moorish stronghold. So when this happened, I believe it was, I can't recall, but you can look this up. It was the Peace of Westphalia. So the Peace of Westphalia was made in Westphalia, which was outside of the territory of the nations fighting. So they went to a central location. Why? Because there was a major war between the rival factions of the Holy Roman Empire. If you look up on YouTube or if you look up on Google and you put in the Holy Roman Empire, it will show you that it's in Germany. And the reason why it's in Germany is because the Moors were centered in Bavaria, Germany. This is where the Illuminati come from and the Nazis come from. So their hate for black people comes from Moorish domination and what they seem to be. This is why. Oh, well, that's another story. Let me not get into that. Because of their domination by the Moors. Now the Moors, we like to look upon the Moors as great. First of all, Moors was a generic term because even what's his name, Pushkin's dad, who was Eritrean, they call him a Moor. You know what I'm saying? Even though he wasn't per se part of the rulership of Damascus, because the Persian Empire was, well, Turkey was ruling. That's why there's so many Turks in Germany. Turkey was ruling. So it wasn't Damascus, it was Istanbul. So the 30-year war was done by the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire was an empire set up by the Moors. The Moors were junior partners of the Turkish Empire. The name is slipping my mind right now. The Ottoman Empire. There you go. The Ottoman Empire. So the Ottoman Empire, you have to understand, they created masonry. They created masonry out of Kemet, out of ancient Egypt. What we know is Freemasonry today. This is why the Eastern Shriners wear a fez. This is why monkeys in Aladdin have a fez on. Right? They're calling the Moors the monkeys of the Arabs, because the Ottoman Empire was really ruling. This is why there's a lot of Turks in Germany. This is what World War I was about, getting rid of the Turks, putting the Ottoman Empire down. Because up until World War I, they were deep into Germany, imagine. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so 30-year war created by the Holy Roman Empire, which was created by the Moors, which are junior partners of the Ottoman Empire, who learned the pyramids first, or at least not first, but before, because the Persians took over too, Iran took over too, in Egypt too. Many people have taken over. So the pyramids. So what we see as Masonry today was their way of initiating Moorish people into helping them maintain their empire. They would go conquer a land, but they couldn't stay. So they would hire certain people, Stevens and Django, per se. Not everybody's a Stephen and Django just because you're initiated. I don't want to make everybody guilty and bad, but they would hire people to rule, right? And maybe from one sense, it might have been positive in the sense that, not the violence, of course, but the knowledge was at least there, because we know that when the Moors went to Europe, all the, I mean, you can look it up, all the not rivers, but they upgraded the standard of living, put showers everywhere, or baths everywhere. They had sweet smelling roses that would be lined up with the wind, the natural wind, so that it would come into the city. You see what I'm saying? Like high engineering for that day. This is Moorish. This is Moorish history and Moorish. I wouldn't say consciousness. Like the Moors were at that time, which was probably, like I said, 711 to 1492. They were top of the line because they received their knowledge from the people that had gained power and gained their knowledge. So when the Moors left, when they got conquered from Ferdinand and Isabella, the Europeans took over the remnants of the Holy Roman Empire, because the Moors were centered in Germany, but they had locations all over, lodges all over, castles, big, huge castles. You can also look up what is that bad called? Look up the logo for Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. And Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, that emblem is a Moor with a knapsack on his back. And if you notice, the Pope wears that emblem upside down. The Pope wears the Moorish emblem of I think it's, no, was that Saxe-Coburg-Gotha? I believe so. I'll make another video if I'm wrong, or I'll put it in the comments. But it pictures a Moor with a knapsack on his back and who tamed a bear. He tamed a bear and he had a knapsack on his back. And that emblem, the Pope wears it on his official garb, upside down at the bottom of his dress. So the hate is real, and this is what fueled slavery, American slavery. This is why they wanted to dominate, because they felt violated. This is, like I said about Aladdin, that's why they created Aladdin as a homeless beggar, and that he's wishing, he needs 3 wishes, and his sidekick is a monkey with the fez on, right? And we know a fez is Eastern Shriner. So when the Ottoman Empire came and took over Europe, and the Moors were their junior partners, you know they were junior partners because they would wear Christian regalia. In Freemasonry, Christian regalia is the under 33. 33 and up as a Shriner, you wear a fez, right? So now, the Holy Roman Empire was the network, or remember, it's the Holy Roman Empire because the Moors, the ones that were initiated, they weren't Christian, they were Masons, and Masons aren't Christian. Masons are about consciousness, quote unquote. But that Masonry of the Western world is really it's really the mystery school system of Egypt. You see, the mystery school system of Egypt was copied, formulated, and recreated in different people's ideology, mainly by the Ottoman empires. Well, that's what modern Masonry is about, the Ottoman Empire, really. They understood it to a degree, and even though they were doing war, they also built, they thought they were bringing civilization, like Europeans think they're bringing civilization to Africa. Because they had higher knowledge, even though they were savage, right? So the Holy Roman Empire was a network of castles and lodges all throughout Europe, where they were trying to ultimately civilize the people. So when the last Moors left, it was Europeans left. So there was the King of Sweden, the King of England, the King of Spain, the King of Germany, the King of Norway, the King of Denmark, the King of Prussia, right? There's other nations that don't exist today. There's a couple other things, a couple other states that you, not states, but entities and countries that I can't recall right now, but they were different. It was, the lines in Europe back then were way different. So they had a problem. They all believed that they had divine right to rule. And so they ended up, and this is the members of the Holy Roman Empire, ended up fighting a 30-year war, just like Eritrea did. And that 30-year war was the nation, or the divine right to rule leaders of Sweden, Norway, Germany, all that stuff, fighting each other, vying for the top spot. They trying to be Marlowe in The Wire. You know what I'm saying? They trying to be Marlowe in Baltimore. You feel me? So, but devastation happened. They lost 66 of their, is it 50%? I can't recall the exact number. It's like 50 or 60% of their population of Europe died, not only from the war, but the war. And this is, remember, this is like the 30 Years' War probably happened in the 1500s sometime. The Peace of Westphalia, I don't know exactly the date, but back then there's no supply lines, there's no trucks running. If a war broke out, everything got cut off immediately. So they lost people from starvation, they lost people from sickness, disease, etc., right? There was nothing was sanitary, all that. So they lost a huge amount, 50% or something like that. So they came to peace. They came to the Peace of Westphalia. And that Peace of Westphalia did something that was never done before. That Peace of Westphalia put all entities that were involved in the war on equal footing. So, for example, a duchy is the province of a king, of a prince. So if I'm a king and I have a son and I want to give him land, but still maintain my kingship, but I'm giving him this land, I call that land a duchy. I think Holland was a duchy. That's why they're the Dutch, right? They were a duchy, right? I just realized that again. I think I remember remembering that, and now I just clicked back again. But yeah, they're a duchy. They were a duchy. A prince from England had that land. So that you have kings that were involved in this war. You have duchies that were involved in this war. You have economic free zones. They had free zones where trade was taking place. That entity in itself was in the war. So they had to put all of these entities on one even keel. Because if I'm going to have peace with you, I don't care if you're a king. We just went through a war. You were a king. I fought you. It doesn't matter you're a king. You gotta promise me you're not going to fight me no more. You know what I'm saying? You got to promise me you ain't going, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't give a fuck what you talking about. I don't care what you saying. So everybody understood. And that was the basis and that was the groundwork that was laid for the nation state concept. It took, that peace treaty took God out of government. It took out divine right to rule. No one understood what it was going to do later. They didn't understand it then, but that was what it was laying down for the future. So this is where the nation state concept comes from. it comes from the Peace of Westphalia. So now back to Eritrea. Eritrea, well, let's talk about Eritrea. Eritrea was made in 1890. When was Germany created? 1868. When was Italy created? 1871. Italy conquered and colonized Eritrea, and they were created 20 years before Eritrea was. You can look it up. Look up Italian unification. Italian unification is the creation of Italy. They want to call it unification. It's not unification. You're making a state. The person, Giuseppe Sapetto, who first came to Eritrea as a missionary, a Christian missionary, the lying sack of shit he is, and he was sent by King Umberto of Italy, not a president. This is Eritrean. I mean, these are people that took over Eritrea. This is 18. Sapetto came in what, 1860 something? That's when he first landed in Asib. When he landed in Asib, he landed in Asib and started buying up land. When he bought up land, he bought up enough land from the Afar brothers. I forgot the Muslim brothers, Afar brothers, and he paid them in the currency of the Roman Catholic Church. I think it was a coin. They had a coin. The Holy Roman Empire today that sits in Rome, the actual Roman Empire today sits in Rome with the Pope and all that. And in Italy, they had a coin going out. They were minting their own. They had minted their own money. So the now the those brothers, Afar brothers, sold him the land. He built up enough land, and then the Italian military came and started taking over. And we all know why that happened, and at least as fast as it happened, because Eritrea got betrayed by many people in the interior in Ethiopia. Rasalula, that son of a, sold us all out. Swore on the Bible. He swore on the Bible that he was going to talk in peace. We were already fighting with them, because all our leaders and Hamas and Sarai and all that. So everybody that was, had their own kingdoms in Eritrea were banding together in Eritrea, and Rasalula swore on the Bible, let's have a meeting, let's discuss what we're going to do with the Italians. He brought them all in, all the Eritrean leaders, 12 of them. He brought them all in and locked them up and killed them. Some of them locked up, some of them killed, but he sent them to Italy. So he rounded up. He just basically handed Eritrea on a platter to Italy. So this is why Eritrea will never let you not forget. It's not gonna happen, because when shit hit the fan, you sold out, plain and simple. So the nation states were created just now. Every nation in the world, with the exception of America, and I think it's America. I guess America was the first nation of the world. It might have been the very first nation of the world. Yeah. I can't think of another. I guess they had city states and stuff like that before for commerce. Well, I guess Rome was a senate. It was a nation state too. It was a nation state too, because it was a senate, and they had a senate, but they had a Caesar, and the Caesar, we know about Julius Caesar and how he took over and all that. They killed him and all that. I forgot who betrayed him, but he said, not you. I forgot who the guy was. Anyway, so Giuseppe Sapetto did that. And these nation states, the concept of the nation state was to be introduced and infiltrated and penetrated into the African interior, into all of Africa, because they wanted to create a global framework for governance. This is why there is a nation state and a union and a UN. So now what happened was, and why this was all taking place is because prior, in the 1790s, Napoleon was ruling Egypt. And the rest of this story will start from there on the next video, because I'm running real long. It's 26 minutes. So this is part one, Eritrean history part one. I'm gonna start with Napoleon, 1790s.